Maryland Resiliency Farms and Family Fund, Food and Agriculture. We had 1 million or 1.2 million fenced off in B&T. Unfortunately, the House will only go up to 250,000, period. End of discussion. I can't figure it out, but they said they aren't moving an inch. So we have a conference committee that still saves the bill and at least gets it started with 250,000. So we are concurring. Well, it's a conference committee report that basically accepts their position. The sponsor said that's fine. She wants the bill. Okay. Who's got Carroll County? You were April. Okay.
House Bill 689, Carroll County Board of Education Member Compensation. This bill increases the compensation for the members of the Carroll County Board of Education by $4,000, beginning with their next term of office. Under the bill, the board president receives $13,000 annually as compensation, and the other voting members receive $12,000 annually. We have local agreement, and there's no amendments.
It's moved, it's been seconded, this has been floating around in some disagreements, but I think they've reached agreement. Anybody wish to be recorded in the negative on the Carroll County compensation bill? Seeing none, that'll be recorded as a 10-0-1 vote. Ms. Foxworth, do you have any concurrences?
One.
Okay, please.
So the motion is to concur on Senate Bill 696, which is the establishment of the Maryland Loan Assistance Program for nurses and nursing workers. So essentially, the bill retains a study at the end of the bill provisions to study establishing this program and this fund. It requires the regulations that the Board of Nursing adopt to determine priority funding for disposing of, or distributing rather, loan assistance repayment instead of making it prescriptive within the bill. And there was originally language indicating that participants in the program had to have a specialty, and it removes that language. And it requires interest earnings within the loan assistance repayment fund to retain or to remain in the fund instead of reverting to the general fund.
What is the bill number on that, please?
Senate Bill 696.
Okay, and who's the sponsor?
I do not remember.
Okay, don't worry. Is there a motion
Senator
to
Bidle.
concur? I'm sorry?
Senator Bidle.
Okay. Is there there's a motion to concur? Is there a second? It's been seconded. Discussion, seeing none. Anybody wish to be recorded in the negative? Seeing none. 11-0, that'll go to the floor. That was your one official concurrence. You've got some unofficial, right? Hold tight. Let's go to Ms. Morton on her concurrences.
Okay. First one here is Senate Bill 86, Department of Natural Resources Lease Agreements Trail Access Provision. This bill requires that whenever the Department of Natural Resources leases any state-owned property under its jurisdiction and control to any lessee, the lease must include a provision that requires the lessee to allow unobstructed access to trailheads by trail users and first responders, and ensure that trailheads remain free of obstructions at all time. The House amendments strike language that would have required lessees to maintain a, quote, border around the property for purposes of providing trailhead access, and instead just have that language saying that they have to provide the trailhead access.
Okay. It amends it down. Is there a motion for concurrence or not concur? Just be aware, it's the last day and the conference committees get dicey. The sponsor of the bill moved to concur. There's a second discussion. Seeing none. Anybody object? Seeing none. 11-0. We concur. Next.
Senate Bill 121, Maryland Farms and Families Fund, Maryland Food and Agricultural Resiliency Mechanism Grant Program, and Maryland Farm to School Meal Grant Pilot Program Alterations and Establishment. The bill alters the purpose and use of the Maryland Farms and Families Fund, establishes the Maryland Agricultural Resiliency Mechanism Grant Program and an associated special fund, and establishes the Maryland Farm to School Meal Grant Pilot Program and associated special fund. The House amendments reduce the mandatory appropriation for the Agricultural Resiliency Mechanism Grant Fund from $1.25 million per year to $200,000 per year, and eliminate the mandatory appropriation for the Maryland Farm to School Meal Grant Program. I would just stress that it is my understanding that appropriations and the Speaker's office are pretty adamant that this is the amount that they are willing to direct, at least this year, to these funds.
That's the one I spoke of a moment ago. I can't figure it out. If the Senate can fence off 1.2 million, I don't know why they can't. But regardless, It's either the more modest amount or no bill. So I spoke with the sponsor. She moves concur. I assume there's a second. Further debate. Seeing none, anybody object? 11-0 concur on HB 147. Next.
Senate Bill 121, sorry. That was, yeah, you got the, okay. Senate Bill 273, Environment, PFAS Chemicals, Prohibitions and Requirements, the George Walter Taylor Act. This bill establishes and expands several prohibitions and requirements that relate to the manufacture, sale, and distribution for sale or use in the state of specified products that contain intentionally added PFAS chemicals. The House amendments make clarifying and technical changes and require the Department of the Environment to take back rather than buy back certain PFAS-containing firefighting foams. These amendments conform the bill to House Bill 275 as unanimously passed by the Senate. So to keep them identical, this committee should concur.
It conforms the bill. We want to get this, yes, Senator.
Can you just explain again the process? I remember we want to make sure that they get the material to the Department of Environment, and the House changed it some way, just.
Right, and so this committee has already voted to do this on the House bill. The Senate originally amended the Senate bill to say to include a $500,000 mandatory appropriation that would be used to purchase, to buy back firefighting foam from local fire departments that they would no longer be allowed to use under the bill. And it said that they'd have to pay the price that the fire department paid for it. The issue was that the Department of the Environment advised that it's going to be actually very expensive for them, to actually go around and collect and transport all of that firefighting foam, and then the more expensive piece of it for them is to dispose of it. So again, this committee voted on the House bill to make that a take-back program rather than a buyback program. So the local departments still get it disposed of for free, still get it off their hands, but they don't recover their purchase price.
Okay, because one of the firemen in my district said that they think that the fire departments will still keep it now because they've already paid for it, and now the department's not going to give them any money to reimburse it, so they're going to just use it till it's finished.
They can't under the bill. I mean, they can use it, I think
Small window.
there's a small window of time, there's about a year, but after that, they can't use it.
It's against the law. It'll be against the state law. So, look, the department said it's going to cost enough to do the take back and dispose of it. Also, buyback, it gets very expensive. The locals aren't super happy about that, but it'll be taken off their hands. They just won't get reimbursed. So, look, if they stay within the law, they can use it, although obviously all of the interested parties say you shouldn't be using it. We can't control that.
Right, and I mean, that was my concern, is for the next year, it's like, hey, let's use this up and get it out there.
Well,
I mean, it's just,
it-
I mean, I actually
until
voted
the law
for the
goes
bill.
until the law goes into effect, we can't stop them. Maybe popular will, or the state department of firefighters or whatever might put pressure on them not to use it. But
Right, but
the law will be the law.
I thought what we had originally was, we'll give you money to give it to us, which would incentivize them to get rid of it. And we took that incentive away and let them use it for another year, which I just think is not the best policy, just.
Well, we could raise taxes to get more money to Department of the Environment. Well, I mean,
I think we had a good policy the way it was, is what I'm saying. I think we
right,
had a good
right.
solution.
Okay. Further discussion. And again, the committee voted on the Senate bill already?
House bill.
The House bill unanimously in the committee and on the floor, I believe. Yes, Senator.
The effective dates for this bill?
Now you're asking tough questions. Hold on.
The use of the PFAS containing firefighting foam begins January 1st, 2024.
So I was trying to go back to Senator Simoner's question. So originally, they thought they would be receiving some funding to buy back. Now, they are able to use the materials until that date?
That was, even under when we had the buyback in it, that was the date. That's the date. I mean, I think that was the kind of negotiated date for when this prohibition on the use of these foams should take effect. The question is just for this program to dispose of the firefighting foam, which again is expensive because it is a hazardous material. It's the question of whether the locals get reimbursed for that firefighting foam or not. And that decision was made on the House bill that they would not be reimbursed, that the money, mandatory appropriation, would go towards the cost of the taking it back and disposing of it.
I think the point I was trying to raise, is there any benefit to delaying the effective date if we're not going to, if they, just because the policy changed?
Right. But I think the point committee council made is even with the buyback, there's a 16-month or 18-month gap where they are not prohibited from using it. Senator,
Yes.
we have some other bills, so let's
And,
try to be
and the reason I'm
concise.
bringing this up is like, we already did the House bill, I guess. But we can talk to the governor. He can actually veto one version and pass another one. So it's not like it's a done deal. So, and like I said, I voted for the bill because I believe in it.
Right.
Why couldn't we just, have the incentive, and then if they want to put more money in it, they can put more money in it. But I think the policy saying you have this much time, but we can put money in there to incentivize them to pay for it, we would get it off and out of society. I think by not incentivizing it, it's incentivizing them to use it up. I think the Senate position was much better, and we can have both ways, where we incentivize it and get it off.
Mr. Butler, you have any comments on this? You want to come to the table very briefly?
Yeah, Jeff Buttle, Professional Firefighters of Maryland, for the record. I think the take back versus the buyback was something that was requested by the Department of the Environment as a technical change. We already can't use the foam under current law for training, so a lot of the departments have gotten rid of the PFAS already because they can't use it in training. That was a law that was passed a couple of years ago. So I'm not really even sure how much is left out there. The purpose of this bill is make sure that moving forward, we wouldn't use the PFAS-based foam for training or emergency response.
But there is an amount out there. How much it is, we don't know. And I guess the policy comes down to, do we incentivize them to turn it in, or do we incentivize them to use it up before the time's over?
It just says substantial.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
On what we just heard, appreciate that. You don't know how many emergency calls are going to happen between now and January 2024 to use it, and I would think a majority of the stuff was getting used in training exercises would probably be my guess. Just.
We have basically two options: just concur or pass two different versions of the bill and let the administration decide which one they want to go into law.
Well, I mean, I will also add that if we choose not to concur, this goes to conference, and so you'd have to convince the House also to.
So I would.
Senator Washington.
I would move to concur. I mean, there's no way the other version can pass. The House would have to pass it.
Okay.
That doesn't change the rule that a bill has to pass two houses, so, yeah. we just
Okay,
should concur.
the motion is to concur. Is there a second? Is there a second? It's been seconded. So, we either move to concur or we don't move to concur. And if you want to go with Senator, no, obviously, if you want another alternative, you first have to defeat the concurrence motion, then we can have a secondary motion. Roll call.
Senator Kagan. Senator Lamb. Senator Lamb, yes. Senator Hester. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Ellis.
Yes.
Senator Ellis, yes. Senator Gallion.
No.
Senator Gallion, no. Senator Carozza. No. Senator Carozza, no. Senator Washington. Yes. Senator Washington, yes. Senator Riley.
No.
Senator Riley, no. Senator Patterson. Senator Patterson, yes. Senator Simonaire.
Explain my vote. Briefly explain my vote. I'm going to vote no because we already have something at the governor's desk, and he could sign that if he wanted. This just gives him another option.
Senator Kagan.
Abstain.
Senator Kagan abstains, and Senator Penske.
Yes.
Senator Penske, yes. 6-4-1.
6-1, the concurrence passes. You're done your concurrences? Or you have one more? Oh, great. Okay.
Senate Bill 354, Bay Restoration Fund, Intended Use Plans and Privately Owned Wastewater Facilities. Senate Bill 354 establishes new reporting requirements for the Maryland Department of the Environment and the Maryland Department of Planning related to grant funding under the Maryland Water Quality Revolving Loan Fund. And also limits the circumstances under which the funding from the Bay Restoration Fund may be provided to the owner of a privately owned wastewater facility. House amendments make technical changes and strike language restricting certain funding to independently owned private wastewater facilities. Amendments conform the bill to House Bill 714 as unanimously passed by the Senate.
We passed the other version yesterday, or Saturday, it all runs together. So do you want to conform the bill? It added a little squiggly on the small mobile home parks, I believe, that are work with the public utilities. Yeah.
And I know we're in a hurry. I'm just want to know what I'm voting for. We had a bill earlier that dealt with certain private wastewater. Is that this one?
Yes.
And I heard you say the House exempted some of them under this. What was that part?
So this is, it's the same amendment that was passed on the Senate floor, I think on Saturday, to the House bill, which was under the original bill. It said that money could not go to a privately owned wastewater facility that was in significant violation of water quality laws unless it showed that there was financial hardship, but also that it was, initially the bill said it had to be independently owned and operated, so it couldn't be part of a larger corporation. There was further discussion with the Department of the Environment where it came out that a lot of the private wastewater facilities that serve particularly trailer parks and mobile home communities tend to be sort of owned by sort of smaller corporations, and so they would still have to show the financial hardship. They just took out that independently owned piece because it would potentially exclude a lot of companies that might need it.
Did that open it up to the ones we were targeting? I mean, did it make it, we could give money to those that basically had some problems giving money that?
Well, as was explained, if they've been in violation, they wouldn't be getting any money, public or private, correct?
So this piece goes to the part that said that potentially they could, if they could show that basically they have a significant financial hardship where they can't afford to do the upgrades that they would need to come into compliance.
Was that in the original bill?
It was. The original bill said that they would have to be independently owned in order to receive that sort of exemption.
And I'm just wondering if we just opened it back up for the intent of the bill by putting this amendment in there. That's all.
I haven't been a big fan from the beginning, but obviously Valley Protein, Back River, we've had problems.
And it's still, the other piece of the bill that is not affected by the amendment is narrowing the definition of what a privately owned wastewater facility is to mean that it has to serve residential units. Because right now, industrial wastewater facilities have been receiving bay restoration, well, they haven't actually received any, but they have been eligible for bay restoration
Only two
funding.
private companies have received it. Only two private companies, as I understand it, non-public, have received it in the last, 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, and just for the record, I'm not trying to mess with, I actually voted for the bill. And I'm just wondering if we just gutted what we tried to do with the bill.
Look, I think it's an issue we can take up again next year. We've passed the other version. I'm not sure this is going to matter at this point, to be honest with you.
Things go so quick.
Things do go quickly. It's absolutely true. And late in the session, when we're concurring in their late-day amendments, we don't always spend the time looking at the implications. I agree with you 100%, Senator. So the concurrence is before us on the second version of the bill. First, we need a motion. Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Seeing no further discussion, Senator asks for a roll call on the concurrence.
Senator Kagan?
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Lamb? Senator Lamb, yes. Senator Hester? Yes. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Ellis? Senator Ellis, yes. Senator Gallion? No. Senator Gallion, no. Senator Carozza? No. Senator Carozza, no. Senator Washington? Yes. Senator Washington, yes. Senator Riley? Yes. Senator Riley, yes. Senator Patterson? Yes. Senator Patterson, yes. Senator Simonaire? No. Senator Simonaire, no. And Senator Penske?
In explaining my vote, we passed the other version of this, but I think Senator Simonaire makes some very good points. I'm going to vote yes, but this bill's been going downhill from the beginning, and it didn't start from a very high point in my mind. So we've already passed the other version, so it's going to become law, but it's something I think we need to review next year. Yes.
All right, last one for me. Senate Bill 580,
Bill passes.
Yes, 7-4, sorry. The concurred.
concurred.
Yes.
Senate Bill 582, Natural Resources, Recreation on Private Land,
Okay.
Hunting. This bill establishes that if a landowner directly invites or permits, with or without charge, an individual to use the landowner's real property for hunting, the invited or permitted individual impliedly consents to adhere to every law, to observe every safety precaution and practice, to observe all property boundaries, to take every precaution against fire, and to assume all responsibility and liability for the individual's safety and property while hunting on the landowner's real property. House amendments clarify that the bill applies to landowners that invite or permit hunting on their property on a limited entry basis, and strikes changes to existing law regarding the use of private property for other recreational activities by the public, including cross-country skiing and the use of OHVs. My understanding is that these are, that's what it says in the law, it's something vehicles. Yeah. My understanding is that the House worked with the Department of Natural Resources on these, that they're just clarifying the intent of the bill.
Do they retain Senator Ellis's amendment?
They do.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Anybody object to the concurrence? Seeing none, 11-0 on that bill. Please, Senator.
Senate Bill 870 is the Baltimore City Youth Data Hub. The request on this, the motion would be to refuse to concur and appoint a conference committee to hash out some of the differences in the definition of provider for those that maintain the data in the hub.
There's no fight on this. So on, I think I forwarded the, I don't know if that's the plan. The House has made some amendments to, right? And we want the bill to pass, so we accept the amendments. So what is this, what's happening with this one?
Distinction between what passed in the House and what the Speaker's office wants.
Right.
And so when that comes back on our side,
Right.
there are a couple of changes that we would need to make, and it can't go back over.
Right.
To
So we
get their
have to-
approval.
So with the Senate bill, so that they have the House bill.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So with the Senate bill, we have to refuse to concur in order to get to conference to get. them
Right,
to
because
come
those
together.
changes weren't made. The overlap
Got
wasn't
it.
made.
Okay, just making sure. All righty.
You know, it's almost 12 o'clock on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Senator,
we understood that it was our understanding that everything was okay on Friday. We worked really hard. Yes, yeah, okay. Oh, well, very good, okay. Let's let it roll. Let's non-concur, yeah, yeah,
The motion is to non-concur.
all right.
And set up a conference committee.
Yes, yes.
Okay, anybody object to the recommendation from the Baltimore senator? Seeing none, we'll move not to concur. We done concurrences, non-concurrences? Okay, on your voting list, let's do the very easy ones. We have the bells going off or not? Okay, let's go to 1439.
Maryland Intrastate Emergency Management Assistance Compact, City of Bowie. This is a cross file of House Bill 932. This bill establishes the City of Bowie as a participating jurisdiction in the Intrastate Emergency Management Assistance Compact. No amendments.
Anybody, it's been moved and seconded, favorable, any objection? Seeing none, 11-0, that'll go to the floor. Let's go to 1216.
House Bill 1216, Department of Agriculture Urban Agriculture Grant Fund. This bill expands the purpose and scope of the Urban Agriculture Grant Program and the Urban Agriculture Grant Fund, which are administered by the Department of Agriculture. First, the bill expands the scope of the program to apply to agricultural producers in an urban area rather than just Baltimore City. Second, the bill expands the purpose and authorized uses of the funds to provide grants to qualified applicants rather than just nonprofit organizations in Baltimore City. From fiscal year 2024 through 2028, the governor must include in the annual budget bill an appropriation of $250,000 to the fund. Just as an FYI, the supplemental budget includes $500,000 in general fund to support the program in fiscal year 2023, contingent on the enactment of this bill.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Just so we're clear, this does have some financial impact. We're awaiting word from upstairs.
EMT signed off.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
our committee council hasn't gotten that yet.
okay.
So we'll pass it, but we're going to hold it
Contingent on.
until we get firm word on that. Senator?
File for this one?
There is not, no.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So the motion is favorable on 1216, but it'll be held in committee until we get formal approval. Debate, anybody object to it? Not seeing any red lights, that'll be reported at the appropriate time, 11-0. Okay, 1265.
Barbers and cosmetologists licensure requirements, review and regulations. This is a cross file of Senate Bill 604. It authorizes the citizenship hours to be credited towards licensure experiences for certain brands or types, categories of electricians. The only difference is an effective date distinction, and there are amendments sponsored by Senator Pinsky to conform. In the Senate, in the House version, what's wrong?
Cosmetologist.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, yeah, thank you. That actually is my error. The bill that we should be voting on is House Bill 1285, not House Bill 1265. So that's a typo, and I apologize. There is nothing wrong with House Bill 1265, and in fact, we did not move that one.
So it's the electrician bill.
Yes, the
Okay,
electrician bill, the cross
so-
file of Senate Bill 604.
So ignore the 1265, we're
Yes.
talking about 1285, and explain
Yes.
once again the difference.
So the difference is an effective date difference. So in the House version that we have before us, the effective date is June, and in the Senate version is July. So we would just want to conform those two. Adopt the amendment.
Okay, the amendment conforms the two dates which are
Sorry.
in disagreement.
Conforming it to July, right, as it is in the Senate version. That's right.
Okay, Senator?
Senate, 46-0, move to accept the amendment.
Any objection to the amendment? Seeing none, the bill is amended. Seeing no red lights, that'll go 11-0. That's 1285, just for the record. 1208,
Yes, so House Bill 1208, Health Occupations, Healthcare Workforce Expansion. This is coming to us from a Budget and Tax primary and is a non-cross-file bill. So we considered this tangentially last week. This allows geriatric nursing assistants who practice under federal COVID-19 waivers to use those hours towards official licensure and certification. Requires the Board of Nursing to approve nursing programs within 14 days. It also requires a study to determine medical debt or nursing school debt and to study the nursing workforce shortage. And it requires the board to adopt regulations regarding online instruction. So last week, we did not consider three amendments that the Board of Nursing proposed, suggested, and highly wants. Those are as follows. The first would be to strike the approval timeline. So Board of Nursing finds that it is difficult and unseemly to have to approve of the training programs within 14 days. So they would like that portion removed for there to be no time restraints on when those training programs have to be approved. Board of Nursing also wants clarity in the bill so that the online instruction can only be didactic, which is different from clinical hands-on instruction. So the board can also adopt those regulations, but that's something specifically that they asked for. And since we did move to concur on Senate Bill 696, which required a study on the healthcare shortage and the state of nurses in the state, it would make sense to strike the study that's at the bottom portion of that bill as well, which does the same thing.
Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the nurses are reasonable in thinking that 14 days is a really fast timetable, but I think no limit at all is irresponsible and exacerbates the problems we've been having with their delays. So I'd like to propose another number. What do we think, 45 days, 30 days? But something longer than 2 weeks, but less than never. And striking the study, if it's already replicated in another bill, makes sense. So with those amendments, I would move the bill. I'll pick, anybody, 45 days? 45 days for the nurses and no
1208.
study. Alexis?
1208.
Okay.
45 days, Senator?
45
hold-
days,
okay.
no study.
And there was a third.
Clarifying that the instruction can only be
Is
didactic.
not clinical.
Right.
Okay, we were second on this. They had the money, we had the policy. I don't know why these amendments weren't proffered on, when it was still in the House. Who knows why it came late? But let's take up the amendments. Vice Chair would like to amend one of the amendments where removing the 14 days, replace it with 45 days. Any objection to that, on that amendment to an amendment? On that, Senator? Okay, so we now have adopting the three amendments, which 45 days to get back on approval, saying the online is didactic, and removing the study. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm not familiar with that word didactic. So what's that versus, I understand clinical, but what kind of instruction is considered didactic?
It's just broad teaching in general.
It's everything but the clinical.
Okay.
No, seriously, they want to make the point, you can't practice clinical online, I think is their point.
Right.
Okay. So that, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? Do we have to codify it? I mean, it's just.
So that's a policy question. They
While
can
we're at it, we
do
just could.
Okay, Any objection to adopting the three amendments, one of which was amended? Seeing none.
Move favorable.
We're moving favorable and sending it back to up to B and T, and then they're going to have to approve it and then send it back to the House, who hopefully will concur. Any objection to taking such action? Seeing none, it'll go back up as amended to B and T. We have a couple more. The bells have rung. We will meet again later in the afternoon. There are some more bills.
12:16, we have gotten the go-ahead on.
At 12:16, we received the go-ahead on. Okay. No. Okay, thank you. And again, there'll be food here all day, and after midnight, you're also invited back. And we'll take up other bills as we can. Adjourn.